Lakshmi, Priya, Kathleen. Welcome all. Thank you for being here. We are going to invoke auspiciousness the way Srila Vyasadeva did it. Laura is here too. Hi Laura. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya namam shaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should respectfully offer obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, and to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto the author, Srila Vyasadeva. So today we are going to read from the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Cosmic Manifestation. And we are going to read from chapter 9, entitled Answers by Citing the Lord's Version. We are on text 1. There is an echo somewhere. I know. If everybody can mute themselves. Yeah, thank you. It's better now. So we are going to, you have books? You can take my Kindle here or the book here. And then whatever you don't take, you can give it to dear Govinda. The Kindle is on a little shelf there. Yeah, it's already open on the right page. And you have a book. Okay. Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Atma. Mayam. Te. Rajan. Purashya. Anubhava Atmana. Na. Gateta. Arta. Sambandha. Swapna. Drastu. Iva. Anjasa. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Atma Mayam Rite Rajan. Parasyanu Bhavatmanaha. Nagatetarta Sambandha. Swapnadrastu Ivanjasa. Shri Shuka Uvacha. Atma Mayam Te Rajam. Parasyanu Bhavatmanaha. Swapnadrastu Ivanjasa Shri Shuka Uvacha Atma Maya Mrite Rajan Parasyanu Bhavatmanaha Nagatetarta Sambandha Swapnadrastu Ivanjasa Shri Shuka Uvacha Atma Maya Mrite Rajan Parasyanu Bhavatmana Nagate Tata Sambandha Swapnadrastu Ivanjasa Shri Sukha Uvacha Rajan Parasyanu Bhavatmana Nagate Tata Sambandha Swapnadrastu Ivanjasa
Shri Sukha Uvacha
Shri Shuka Uvacha
Atma Maya Mrite Rajan
Atma Maya Mrite Rajan Parasyanu Bhavatmanaha
Nagatetarta Sambandha
Nagatetarta Sambandha
Swapnadrastu Ivanjasa
Swapnadrastu Ivanjasa. Anyone online would like to chant? You're on mute, Len. You put yourself out on mute and then back. Yes, thank you for letting us know that the sound was really low.
Shri Sukha Uvacha
Uvacha
Atma Maya Mrite Rajan
Mamaya Mrite Rajan
Parasyanu Bhavatmana Nagate Tarta Sambandha
Nagate Tarta Sambandha
Swapnadrastur Ivanyasa.
Swapnadrastu Ivanjasa. Anybody else? Okay, we can go word for word in the translation. Shri Shuka Uvacha.
Shri Sukha Uvacha
Shri Sukadev Goswami said,
Shri Shukadev Goswami said
Atma,
Atma,
the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
the Supreme Personality of Godhead,
Mayam,
Mayam,
energy,
energy,
Rite,
Rite,
without, Rajan,
Rajan,
O King,
O King,
Parasya,
Parasya,
of the pure soul,
of the pure soul,
Anubhava Atmana,
Anubhava Atmana,
of the purely conscious,
of the purely conscious,
Na,
Na,
never,
never,
Gateta,
Gateta,
it can so happen,
it can so happen,
Artha,
Artha,
meaning,
meaning,
Sambandha,
Sambandha,
relationship with the material body,
relation with material body,
Swapna,
Swapna,
dream,
dream,
Drastu,
Drastu,
of the seer,
of the seer,
Eva,
Eva,
like,
like,
Anjasa,
Anjasa,
completely.
completely.
Translation. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, O king, unless one is influenced by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, There is no meaning to the relationship of the pure soul in pure consciousness with the material body. That relationship is just like a dreamer seeing his own body working. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Maharaj Parikshit's question as to how all living entity began his material life also is apart from the material body and mind is perfectly answered. The spirit soul is distinct from the material conception of his life, but is absorbed in such a material conception because of being influenced by the external energy of the Lord called Atma Maya. This has already been explained in the first canto in connection with Vyasadev's realization of the Supreme Lord and his external energy. The external energy is controlled by the Lord, and the living entities are controlled by the external energy, by the will of the Lord. Therefore, also the living entity is purely conscious in his pure state, is subordinate to the will of the Lord in being influenced by the external energy of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita 15:15 also, the same thing is confirmed. The Lord is present within the heart of every living entity, and all the living entities' consciousness and forgetfulness are influenced by the Lord. Now, the next question automatically made will by why the Lord influences the living entity to such consciousness and forgetfulness. The answer is that the Lord clearly wishes that every living entity be in his pure consciousness as part and parcel of the Lord, and thus be engaged in the loving service of the Lord as he is constitutionally made. But because the living entity is partially independent also, he may not be willing to serve the Lord, but may try to become as independent as the Lord is. All the non-devotee living entities are desirous of becoming equally as powerful as the Lord. Also, they are not fit to become so. The living entity are illusioned by the will of the Lord because they wanted to become like him. Like a person who thinks of becoming a king without possessing the necessary qualification when the living entity desires to become the Lord himself, he is put in a condition of dreaming that he is a king. Therefore, the first sinful will of the living entity is to become the Lord, and the consequent will of the Lord is that the living entity forget his factual life and thus dream of the land of Utopia, where he may become one like the Lord. The child cries to have the moon from the mother, and the mother gives the child a mirror to satisfy the crying and disturbing child with the reflection of the moon. Similarly, the crying child of the Lord is giving over to the reflection, the material world, to lord it over as karmi, and to give this up in frustration to become one with the Lord. Both these stages are dreaming illusion only. There is no necessity of tracing out the history of when the living entity desired this. But the fact is that as soon as he desired it, he was put under the control of Atma Maya by the direction of the Lord. Therefore, the living entity in his material condition is dreaming falsely that this is mine and this is I. The dream is that the conditioned soul thinks of his material body as I, or falsely thinks that he is the Lord, and that everything is in connection with that material body is mine. Thus, only in dream does the misconception of I and my persist life after life. This continues life after life, as long as the living entity is not purely conscious of his identity as a subordinate part and parcel of the Lord in his pure consciousness. However, there is no such misconceived dream, and in that pure conscious state, the living entity does not forget that he is never the Lord, but that he is eternally the servitor of the Lord in transcendental love. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Jala Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Vanupistam Shtapinsam Yena Bhutani Swayam Upakadamayam Dadati Swapadamtikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Upak Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Sham Shri Upam Sadracham Saganat Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvitam Savajutam Saitat Sekam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sham Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpati Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostuti Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavane Shwari Vishabhanu Sutedevi Panamami Yari Priye Tansha Kalpa Tarubhyacha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prestaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamini, Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Pacharini, Nirvesesha Srinavadi Paskachari Jatarini. Hare Krishna. I'm going to repeat the verse. Sri Shukadev Goswami said, O king, unless one is influenced by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no meaning to the relationship of the pure soul in pure consciousness with the material body. That relationship is just like a dreamer seeing his own body working. What a verse and purport. It seems that everything we always wanted to know is right there in this verse and purport. So, for a few months, we were absorbed in a previous chapter entitled Question by Maharaj Parikshit, King Parikshit. And then now we are coming to the start of the 9th chapter. And yesterday, dear Govinda was sharing how exciting it is, because in the 9th chapter of the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam are the seed verses of the entire work of Srimad Bhagavatam from Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is giving us instruction. Lord Brahma received directly instruction from the Lord to his flute. Lord Brahma received everything. He saw the Lord and he saw the whole spiritual sky and he saw the whole material creation before he created it. And then he was able to fix his mind with clear intention and put himself to work. And before that, he gave us instruction. And on a spiritual platform, a transcendental platform, we are stepping out of duality. So in that platform of transcendence, there is no difference between question and responses. So we have seen that for a few months, maybe 2 or 3 months, we have been absorbing the question of King Parikshit. And we learned so much, and our consciousness have expanded so much from reading those questions. Why? Because Maharaj Parikshit questions are fully transcendental. They are not at all contaminated by the material energy, not contaminated by the 3 modes of material nature, not contaminated by this conception of I and mine. King Parikshit, in fact, he left everything behind, like it was tool. It explained that King Parikshit, he was an emperor of the universe. He had wealth incomparable to whatever the wealthy man right now is. He had a beautiful wife or wives. He had children. He had wealth. He had everything one can aspire for in a material energy. He had it all. And it said that when he found out that he was going to die because he was cursed by a Brahman boy, he could have counteracted the curse, but he was joyful, like, yeah, great opportunity. And he left everything he had like it was tool, because he wasn't in that consciousness of I and mine. He didn't care. It was not his. It was God's kingdom. It was Krishna's being the emperor. It was Krishna's women and children and wealth, and everything was Krishna's. And so he had nothing to give up, really, because there is nothing to give up. The false conception that I need to give up something is just false, because nothing belonged to us. So Maharaj Parikshit knew that, and so he was completely on the transcendental platform. And for a few months, we have heard his really deep question. He wants to, and he asked the question very much for our benefit. Like Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that he was covered over, his consciousness was covered, but really was pastime. He was covered for him to hear the Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita, to revive it after millennia, because it was lost, and for us really to receive it. And there is no difference between us hearing the Bhagavad Gita and Arjuna hearing the Bhagavad Gita. So the title of this new chapter is Answers by Seeking the Lord's Version. So we have been waiting for that amazing transcendental personality, Sukadev Goswami. We have been speaking about him a lot because he's right there. Like, he was chosen to be the one who respond to the king. When the king found out that he was going to die, he went on a bank of the river Ganges. But it's really the Yamuna. The Yamuna sometimes is called Ganges because they have the same source somewhere. Anyway, so he was on the bank of the Ganges, and he wanted to just focus on meditating on Krishna and prepare himself for death. Like, life is about preparing for death. What else is there to do but prepare for death? Because death is certain, nothing else is certain. If we are going to be happy, maybe, maybe not. If we are going to have a nice husband, maybe, maybe not. Where we are going to have children, maybe, maybe not. If we are going to have money, maybe, maybe not. If we are going to be rich and famous, maybe, maybe not. That's just maybe, maybe not, nothing else. It just comes in its own accord, really, according to our karma. But one thing is certain as death. This is certain. So Maharaj Parikshit said, yeah, now it's my time, and I'm really happy because I prepare my life for that moment, and I'm going to give that my time to really hearing and chanting, because that's what I want to do, because that's what we are supposed to do throughout our life, to hear and chant about the glories of the Lord. So he went there, and at that time, believe it or not, there was no internet. No internet, no fast system of communication, not even a telephone, not even telegram, nothing. And within, a moment's time of the king sitting on the bank of the Ganges, thousands of sages gathered around him. Thousands of sages, they all came from the Himalayas, from different places in the universe. They all gathered there. Why? Because that's so important. That's so important to be present when the devotee of the Lord is going to pass, to leave his body. And now, I know I had a few opportunities to be around devotees when they leave their body, and it's such a joyful experience, such a deepening of faith experience, such an experience of profound significance to be around the devotee when they leave their body. Why? Because they show us what a man is about to do, what he's supposed to do, regardless of the situation, to remember the Lord. So as they remember the Lord, they help us remember the Lord too. So all the sages gathered around the king, because it's emperor of the universe. He's a great personality. And then they were all there sitting around, meditating on the Lord. Nobody was speaking. And all of a sudden, they saw that beautiful young maiden of 16-year-old, naked, having bumblebee all around, flying around him, smelling his body. And as soon as he arrived, they all knew, this is the speaker. The speaker has arrived. And again, there was no mode of communication. There was no flyer saying, gather at that time, the king is going to die, and Sukadev Goswami is going to recite the Bhagavatam. No flyer, no Facebook event, nothing. And yesterday, I will do a little parenthesis here. Yesterday, I was speaking with one of my roommates, and I was lamenting. I was missing that life without internet. I was so missing it. And I was sharing to my roommate that I was organizing so many events, so many preaching events. I will know everything that's going all around Boston, and I will have people coming to my events. How did they come? How did they come? There were so many people coming to our events. So we knew where to go. We were just completely active, and it was quite inconceivable for my roommate. Really, really inconceivable. No. That's not possible. That's not possible. Only now we can do this kind of thing. We can have events where people come to. Anyway, so they all knew that Sukadev Goswami, because Paramatma, the Lord in the heart, was telling them, yeah, he's the speaker. And as soon as he arrived, many sages, they bowed down before him. And then he went to a seat, a special Vyasasan, the Vyasasan will seat that the speaker will repeat the teaching of Vyasadev is sitting on, and then they started listening. So answer by citing the Lord's version. Sukadev Goswami is not going to say, okay, here's my knowledge, here's what I know, here is who I am, worship me. No, here we understand that he's going to cite the Lord's version. He's going to speak on behalf of the Lord. And so King Parikshit asked, how do the living entity in pure consciousness come into the world? So that's the first question, and I love the way Srila Prabhupada approached it. And Srila Prabhupada approached it by quoting from that it's already have been explained in the first canto to Srila Vyasadeva. So it just happened. That's what I'm reading right now, is that story of Vyasadeva. So I'm going to share a little bit of his story about Srila Vyasadeva. He's a literary incarnation of the Lord. And at the end of Dwapara Yoga, the beginning of Kali Yoga, when the Lord left the planet, there was like a very quick degradation of human abilities, including the human ability to remember. In other ages, humans had bright intelligence and remembrance and memory, so they could hear something and they remembered it. And then because they remembered it, they could speak it again. But at the beginning of Kali Yoga, the age of quarrel and hypocrisy, human being ability really degraded very, very quickly. And they were not able to remember. And I can see that, I cannot remember what I ate yesterday for lunch. It's like my memory is so fuzzy and lacking precision. I read so much of the Prabhupada's books and I forgot most of it. And so Srila Vyasadeva, he could understand that. So he decided to compile the Vedas, because the Vedas were going to be lost because nobody could hear them and repeat them. So Vyasadeva's main role was to compile the Veda with the scribe. Ganesh was his scribe. he started to writing the Veda, compiling the Veda. And he also started by dividing the Veda. The Veda is one, is knowledge, and then he divided them in 4 Vedas because of dividing them, then it will be more accessible for human being, because the Vedas are for human being. Animals don't read so much. And so he compiles the 4 Vedas, he compiles the Mahabharata, the Puranas, the Upanishads, he compiles all that. And then Vyasadeva, he wasn't satisfied. It's described he was feeling very despondent. And he serves the Lord. He did his service fully. He serves the Lord fully. He did his service fully. Still, inside of him, there was something that was really not satisfied. He was not complete. He was not feeling satisfied. He knew something was missing. And just at that moment, Narada Muni, who is like the spiritual master of everyone and who can fly, just appeared in front of Vyasadeva and kind of could read his heart. He showed a lot of empathy and he said, yes, you're not feeling satisfied. And your lack of satisfaction is because you haven't fully glorified the Lord. That by glorifying the Lord, the people of Kali Yuga, in the Vedas, they are going to get lost. They are not going to understand that the goal of the Veda is to understand Krishna. They are not going to. They are going to get lost. They are going to think like worshipping the demigod is a goal, or meditating on nothing is a goal. They are not knowing what to do in Kali Yuga. So that's why you're not feeling too good. And then the interesting thing is, Narada Muni, when he starts speaking, he starts by telling his stories. And why is he telling his story? Why is Narada telling his story, his own childhood story? Because Narada Muni was born in a very low situation. He was in a previous yuga. He was born in a very low situation. He was the son of a maid servant. He didn't even have a father. That's, for the Vedic time, is the lowest of the lowest. He was the son of a maid servant, no father, no family life. And that's who he was. And he explained that at 5-year-old, just by hearing from the Bhaktivedantas, from those who know the science of Bhakti, the Bhaktivedantas are personified Srimad Bhagavatam. They speak Bhagavatam, they glorified the Lord all the time. Just by hearing from the Bhaktivedantas, he got transformation. He got transformation at 5-year-old. He knew the goal of human life. He knew to not be attached to his mom when she died. He was sad and he moved on because he knew the purpose of human life. So that's when Narada Muni started speaking to Vyasadeva, because he wanted to emphasize and really stress that no matter how fallen the people of Kali Yuga are, if they can hear the glories of the Lord directly, they are not going to find them. It is all the Veda glorified the Krishna, but it's so intricate. The knowledge in the Veda is so intricate that most of the people of Kali Yuga will not find that. They will get diverted by the flowery language of the Veda. So Srila Narada Muni, he shared his story to emphasize for Vyasadeva how much just by hearing from the Bhaktivedantas, we are hearing from Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Just by hearing from the Bhaktivedantas, one can completely transform his karma and rise to the level of pure devotional service. And then Narada Muni, he goes on and explains everything to Vyasadeva. And then his last instruction to Vyasadeva is, please meditate on devotional service. Please meditate on devotional service. And then Srila Prabhupada hinted that in his purport. So I'm going to read from that time. It's from the 7th chapter of the 1st canto. And I'm going to read verse 4. Thus, Vyasadeva fixed its mind, perfectly engaging it by linking it in devotional service, bhakti yoga. So it fixed its mind in remembrance. So that's devotional service. Sometimes people say, what's my service? You know, thinking that service is something in this material world we need to do. And here, Srila Vyasadeva, he said, linked, engaging his mind, is fixed his mind, engaging it by the linking. So yoga, linking is yoga, in it, in devotional service, bhakti yoga, without any tinge of materialism. And thus he saw the absolute personality of Godhead along with his external energy, which was under full control. So that's the verse that we have here, that the external energy, Maya, the energies that entangle us in a downward spiral of losing our pure consciousness, is seen by Vyasadeva when he starts to do service. So for us too, by hearing and chanting, by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By this process of linking, little by little, we get to see the Lord, and we also get to see his external energy and understand how his external energy is working. And then we continue with Vyasadeva. Due to this external energy, the living entity also transcendental to the three modes of material nature. Think of itself as a material product and thus undergoes a reaction of material misery. So the first question was how? And then the second question was why? So the how is because Krishna's external energy, because Krishna has the power to do that. He has the power to cover our pure consciousness with the material energy. And because Krishna's energy are so much more powerful than who we are, because in nature, we have the same spiritual nature than Krishna. We are Satchit Ananda, full of bliss, full of knowledge, and full of eternity. We are eternal, full of bliss and knowledge. So we are of the same nature than Krishna. However, quantitatively, we are minute. 10,000, the size of 10,000ths of the tip of a hair. That's how minute we are. And we are minute, and the Lord is unlimited. So the unlimited Lord as part and parcels is us. So all his energy are going to push it down because he's so much more powerful than we are. So how we come to the material consciousness is through Krishna's energy, Maya energy, external energy. And the why is very clearly explained too, because why will Krishna do that? Why will Krishna cover us? And then the why is very well explained in this purport. The why and in this verse, which is simply by giving oral reception, material misery. Yeah, so the why is because we wanted it. Yeah, that's it. Because we wanted it. Because Krishna fulfilled our desire. Because we have, as part and parcel of Krishna, our constitutional position is very simple. Our constitutional position is to be servant of the Lord and to serve the Lord with love and devotion. That's our constitutional position. And from that place, our purity and our pure consciousness is completely manifested. And so, because the Lord is fully independent, he wants his part and parcel to also be partially independent, to have some independence, because what's the meaning of love without independence? You know, like some people, they so much to want to love someone that they are trying to control them. then the result is like there is no much love. Yeah, because there is no love with control. Control is not love. But I love her so much that I'm screaming at her all day. But I love him so much that I need to criticize him and expect from him so much. You don't understand how much I love him. No, I don't. Because love means freedom. Love means freedom, no control. And so Krishna wants to be loved. He wants us to voluntarily love him. And naturally will voluntarily love him. Naturally, most the living entities, part and parcel of Krishna, love Krishna. That's where they are. They're just with Krishna, enjoying that relationship. That's who they are. It's like a child is enjoying being with the parents. And a few, very, very few, like 10% of the living entity want to use their partial independence. And in that partial independence, they desire full independence. They desire to be Lord. They desire to lord over. They desire to be fully independent and be Lord. So as soon as there is a seed of a desire to use my independence in that way, then the Lord fulfills that desire. And then he does that through his Maya energy, illusory energy. Srila Prabhupada gives example of like someone who wants to be the king or president of the United States, but doesn't have any qualification. He doesn't have the capability, doesn't have the qualification, he doesn't have the position, he doesn't have the knowledge, he doesn't have the money, he doesn't have the backup, he doesn't have anything to be a king or the president, but he has a desire to be the president of the United States. And so maybe he goes in a dream state, and then at night he dreams that I'm the president of the United States. Don't you see? Everybody listen to me. I have the power to push a button and destroy countries. I can make rules. I can make laws. I can take taxes from you. I can give you money for you to feel happy with me and love me. Whatever. I have so many power. But it's just a dream. It's just a dream. Because constitutionally, that person is not qualified to be the king or to be the president. So he just gets to be president in illusion, but in reality he's not, because he doesn't have what it takes. So similarly, we don't have what it takes to be God. We are part and parcel, we are tiny, we are minute, part and parcel, minute spark minute spark of spiritual energy. And as such, we don't have what it takes to be God, to create, to maintain, to be the source of everything, to have millions of universes coming out of us, to be the source of the one who is the source of all those universes. No, we are not. It's not in us. But we want it. So Krishna, okay, you want it? Here, go and lord over the material energy. You're going to fight because that material energy is mine, but still, I'm going to give you an illusion that you can lord over. Then we are put in a material world. And we are like, I identified with that body. Everything that's around me is mine, my relationship, my people, my position, my job, my, and I. And then we identified with that little cartoon character, and we really think that we are lording over everything, regardless how many times we are tossed around by the material energy. By now, we should know that the material energy is more powerful than we are, isn't it? One day we are super strong and healthy, the next day we are in bed and we had no control over it. Yeah, like it's so easy to be tossed, like we are constantly tossed by the material energy. So small power do we have to decide what's happening in our life. So small, very, very, very small power to decide. At any moment we can be crushed. At any moment, anything can happen. Anything can happen. That's our reality. And as long as we think it's not the reality, then we are mad. We are in illusion. We are dreaming. And the moment we realize that, yeah, I'm suffering, that's not a great place to be. Then we are guided. We are guided towards understanding the Lord. And we can only understand the Lord from someone who do understand the Lord. Because as long as we are prisoner of that dream, in that dream, we are going to only meet dream people, isn't it? We're just meeting dream people. Like those people we speak to in a dream, they're just dream people. They are also, there is no reality to them. But we only think that they are reality. So similarly, as long as we're in a prison and we speak to the prisoner, we are not going to find the key to get out of the prison. So in order to get out of the prison, we need to really plug into someone who is not under the external energy of the Lord. The Lord is completely absorbed in his internal energy, as well as all his pure servants are completely absorbed in the internal energy. So for us to get free from the external energy, we need to connect with the internal energy through the via media of what Krishna is giving us. He's giving us the spiritual master. He's giving us messenger from the spiritual world to help us. And by plugging into their knowledge, plugging into the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is pure transcendental knowledge, then little by little we get to free ourselves. I'm going to continue Vyasadeva. So Vyasadeva said, due to this external energy, the living entity, also transcendental to the three modes of material nature, thinks of himself as a material product and thus undergoes a reaction of material miseries. And then he said, Anarto Parashamab Chaksha Bhakti Yoga Doksaje Lokashayi Janato Bitvam Chakre Sadvata Sam Jai. The material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth. So the Srimad Bhagavatam that we are reading every day, this precious knowledge in the Srimad Bhagavatam. I love the Srimad Bhagavatam. I think the Srimad Bhagavatam is magical, pure nectar, pure. Like it says that because it came from Sukadev Goswami to us, it's being refined, and it's come as sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. And so through reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, we get to purify our heart. Srinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Vidyantasto Yabadwanis Vidunoti Suit Satam. Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is in everyone's heart as the Super Soul Paramatma, cleansing the heart of all the dirt that's there for the truthful devotee, so sincere truthful devotee, cleansing the heart. And of the truthful devotee who have developing the urge to hear his message, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. So properly heard and chanting is like, where is the source of that hearing? But for us, the source of that hearing is Srila Prabhupada. He gives us Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's so precious. Even like a few verses ago, there was a reference to Sankaracharya. Sankaracharya is like the proponent of impersonal philosophy. Of course, he is not. He's a devotee of Krishna. He's an incarnation of Lord Shiva, but he's a proponent of impersonal philosophy. And because it was his job to do that, it was just his service to do that, he was very careful to not touch the Srimad Bhagavatam. He didn't touch the Srimad Bhagavatam because Srimad Bhagavatam is so precious. He was very careful to not even touch it or come close to the Srimad Bhagavatam or have his follower come close to the Srimad Bhagavatam, to not pollute the knowledge of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Vyasadeva continues, simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, Srimad Bhagavatam, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprout up, and at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, illusion, and fearfulness. So as soon as we hear from the right source, we develop love of God. Why? Because Nitya Krishna, Nitya Siddha, Krishna Prema, Sadhya Kabunai, Shravanadi Shudatsite Karaya Udai. So love of Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of the living entities. It is not something to be gained from an external source. It's there already. When the heart is purified by hearing and chanting, this love naturally awakens. So some people just say, well, love of God is inside me. I don't need to do anything. Well, yes, it is inside you, and there is a cement wall in front of it. Yes, it is inside you, and there is like a full layer of dirt in front of it. Yes, it is there. So yes, it is there. That's right. That's correct. That's correct philosophy. And from time immemorial, Srila Prabhupada in his purport, he said, we cannot retrace. We cannot retrace when that happened. And what he means there is that it's not something we can retrace through material history, because there is creation, annihilation, creation, annihilation, and there is no material history that can retrace a moment where the spiritual soul decide to use their partial independence in order to enjoy separated from Krishna. So from time immemorial, we have been here, and we have been believing I and my, and have all those desires. And because of that, then we have accumulated like really a lot of dirt, and then we are bound by the three modes of material nature, isn't it? Desire, anchoring, dullness. We are the mode of ignorance. We just want to sleep. We just want to dull ourselves, numb ourselves. We don't want to clean, we don't want to do austerity, or we are in a mode of Raja. Under the mode of Raja, we want to do. And I am the doer, and I'm going to get results, and I have my long to-do list, and I'm running, and I'm thinking it's me, but it's just me being influenced by the mode of passion. And then the mode of goodness, which is the mode that's easiest, like the easiest to bring to transcendent, but still the mode of goodness, because it gives a certain sense of shanti, peace, comfort, satisfaction. Then why will I endeavor for anything else? So all those modes, they are binding. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said, Aivi Esha Gunamai, Mama Maya Durataya, Mamevaye Prapadanti Maya Metam Tantiti. So here again, the Mama Maya, Ma Maya, my Maya, my. It's Krishna is very clear. It's his Maya. Let's not try to fight Krishna. When we try to fight the material energy, making it wrong, or we need to be rectified, or we need to be active because he shouldn't be going that way. We are fighting Krishna. Like you made a mistake, Krishna. No, we are going to lose. We are not going to win. There is no win against the Supreme Personality of Godhead from whom we emanate. We are part and parcel of Krishna. How can we even imagine? It's like a 2-year-old thinking, I'm going to win my dad. I'm going to show my dad that I pay the rent here and I make money. I am the one who brings the food to the table. That's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. That's what we do all the time. So Krishna says, this divine energy of mine. So divine energy is Maya. The external energy is divine. It's a goddess, Durga, Kali, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature. So it's made of 3 modes of material nature. Sometimes the modes, guna means ropes. So that's how we are tied with ropes. And as long as we are tied with rope, if we approach another person with tied with ropes, it's not going to do much. Maybe we'll feel good about ourselves. Maybe we'll be in more illusion, but it's not going to do much. In order to free ourselves from being tied by the rope, we need to go to someone who is free. The free person can just come and untie it very easily. So by surrendering ourselves. So that's divine energy, consisting of the 3 modes of material nature, is kind of a big ocean. And it's very, very difficult to overcome. It's very, very difficult to cross. In fact, it's impossible to cross. The only way to cross it is for those who surrender unto Krishna. By that action of surrendering to Krishna, then we have a chance to overcome in a moment of time, a moment of surrender. We are not under the threefold misery. And recently I heard from someone that was really healed, doing really poorly physically, and experiencing that moment. We can experience that moment anytime, that moment of surrender where nothing can happen to us. Whatever is happening with the body, if the body is in pain or if the body is sick, whatever is happening with our finance, if we have a full bank account or we are completely a pauper in the street, whatever is happening with the world situation, the virus, the war, earthquake, tornadoes, whatever, we can just surrender like that. Put our arm in the air like, oh, Krishna, it's okay. I'm in your womb. We were reading from Krishna book on Friday, and many of the ladies, they met that pearl at the end of the reading. At the end of the reading, we share pearl. And the pearl was that we are in the womb of the Lord. Like we are like a baby. A baby is in the womb of the mother, and everything around us is the Lord. So we are in the womb of the Lord. There is nothing to fear here. It's all the energy of the Lord. We are with the Lord, and it's all his energy. So at the moments we understand that and we stop fighting, what creates our misery is a resistance. Not the pain itself, it's our resistance. And so we can just experience that way. So there is so much more to that purport. I think we could spend all year on these purports and still feel very enlivened to speak about it. Shri Shuka Uvacha Atmamayam Rite Rajam Parashyanu Bhavatmana Nagate Tarta Sambanda Swapnadras Tu Ivakshasa. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, O king, unless one is influenced by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no meaning to the relationship of the pure soul in pure consciousness with the material body. That relationship is just like a dreamer seeing his own body working. Hare Krishna, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here today. And if there is any question, comments, realization, I will be really happy to hear. Back to Brielle.
I have 2 questions. I was reading Bhagavad Gita yesterday, and I was confused with the disciplic succession. And at the end of the introduction, it says it starts with Krishna, then to Brahman, and then all the way down to Srila Prabhupada. But then in the introduction, Srila Prabhupada talks about how first it was the knowledge was given to the sun god, and then somewhere along it got lost. But then he's speaking it to Arjuna. So I guess he's giving it to Arjuna because it was lost to like reestablish the disciplic succession. But I don't see
the correlation between the two.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Particularly with the line of disciplic succession from Krishna to Brahma all the way down to Srila Prabhupada.
That's a very interesting topic. Thank you. So have you heard Bhaktin Briel's question? No. So Bhaktin Briel was speaking about Bhagavad Gita, and now in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna described how he's giving the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, because in due course of time, that knowledge was lost. And then he also reminded Arjuna that in the past, he gave it to Vishvashvam, who gave it to his son, Vishwaku, who gave it to Manu, like that in a disciplic succession. And then at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, then there is the list of 32 acharyas in our line of disciplic succession, starting with Lord Krishna giving it to Brahma, giving it to Narada, giving it to Vyasa, and down, Lord Chaitanya and the six Goswami, and coming to all our disciplic succession on what's the correlation between the two. And I think it's in the first chapter, those verses are there. And also it's very clearly explained that there is like the knowledge that he's giving, that he gave to Arjuna, the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita is given to the kings, the lineage of king. And it's not like there is one disciplic succession, there is more than one. And that one that was lost is the one that's to Kshatriya king, because the Kshatriya king, they have a very, very important duty and role to play in, and it's lost now because the kings on earth, they don't know the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. They are not guided by that disciplic succession. So Vishvashvam is a sun god, and is like a king of the god, king, and Ishvaku and Manu, they have managerial responsibility. And that disciplic succession, in a sense, Parikshit Maharaj here is a grandson of Arjuna and is in that disciplic succession. And by the time Parikshit Maharaj was reigning as emperor of the universe, he was connected with that disciplic succession. He was a Raja Rishi. He was a sage king. So that's there. There is many disciplic succession for different rules and different roles according to the management of the universe and the management on earth. And then here we have two disciplic succession meeting. We have Maharaj Parikshit coming from Arjuna down to Maharaj Parikshit as a Raja Rishi, who is like the ruler and ruling by the rule of the Bhagavad Gita, by the rule giving to the Kshatriya, to Arjuna by Krishna. And then Sukadev Goswami, who come from the Brahmanical disciplic succession of receiving knowledge through the Brahma Sampradaya, from Krishna to Brahma, from Brahma to Narada, and Narada to Vyasa, and Vyasa to Sukadev Goswami.
Okay, I see. That's so interesting. That these two lines come together between Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadev Goswami.
Yeah, and the whole Bhagavatam is kind of those two lines coming together, and that's another reason the Bhagavatam is so special, and that's another reason the Bhagavatam is so special. Yeah.
As mentioned, there's a letter, apparently a disciple of Prabhupada asked that question, and Prabhupada writes in letter, he says, we are in the disciplic line of Arjuna. And he says, not officially, but the Siddhanta, the disciplic conclusion is the same. So essentially, we're in the line of Arjuna, but not officially. So
yes,
just to clarify that.
Thank you. And I can imagine that officially will mean like Srila Prabhupada was encouraging his disciple to take management, to become president of the United States. Like, Tulsi Gabbard, she was, in the line of Arjuna in a sense. Yeah, not officially. Yeah, thank you.
One more question.
Yes.
You said that the external energy is like Durga, like the divine feminine, basically. but then I also understand that the internal potency is also divine feminine, because Satchidananda is, what is it, Sandhini potency, Sambha potency, and Malini potency. So they're both divine feminine.
They are both divine energy. They are both Prakriti. There is two types of Prakriti. It's explained in the introduction to the Bhagavad Gita. There is a Prakriti, that's external energy, and there is another type of Prakriti that we are. It's internal energy. Because like as living soul, the pure spirit soul, the pure consciousness of the spiritual soul is part of the internal energy. However, like because we allow ourselves to want desire different than what's available in internal energies, and we are put under the control of the external energy, and both are Prakriti. There is only one Purusha. Krishna is Purusha, and everything is his Prakriti. So in a sense, there is only one male figure, that's a Purusha. But Purusha means controller. You know, it's not like male and female the way we understand it. From human being, it's not a question of gender. It's more a question of the energy and energetic. And so Prakriti is like feminine.
Just an analogy that I find helpful in this regard. So thanks for the question. There's Purusha and Prakriti. So just like internal energy is like the queen, right? And so you've got the king having all intimate pastimes with the queen consort. External energy is like the maidservant. Okay, so also completely serving the king, but the maidservant doesn't come to the internal quarters. And also, like the queen, she has influence over the king. Maidservant doesn't really have doesn't have any influence over it. But still, the maidservant is serving under the control of the king at a distance, external to the internal quarters. She's not in the intimate conversations. But they're both females who are serving the king. And one is the queen, very internal, and one is the maidservant. So that's Durga Maya.
Well, that analogy.
I like the analogy too. Yeah, it's a great analogy. The external energy is really under the control of the Lord, and and then the internal energy can have the power to control the Lord.
Through love.
Through our love, through embodiment of love. Anything else? Dao Brahma Prabhu, Hare Krishna. You're on mute and we are not hearing you.
I want to appreciate your appreciation of the Bhagavatam as, remember the word you used several times? What was it? Remember? Malini.
Yes, I'm hearing like, I don't know, sublime literature.
No, twice at least today, if not. It's right above me.
Yes.
Precious. Precious. Precious.
Precious. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'm a Kali Yoga person. I don't even remember what I said.
Okay, well, I appreciate you appreciating precious. Anything that's precious. Okay. Jai. Haribol.
Thank you, Dao Brahma Prabhu. Yeah, Bhagavatam is so precious. It's such like any moment spent with the Bhagavatam is just out of this world. It's an experience that is not replicable with anything else that I know.
I'll just follow up on Darrow's appreciation that you were in kind of this flowing ecstasy, saying, "I love the Bhagavatam." You weren't even thinking about what you were saying. It was just coming from your loving heart and the flow of affection. So it was very moving. I agree with you.
Rajendra Prabhu?
Do you want me to listen to you?
Yes.
I don't know what to do.
Some of your and some of what I'm hearing, you know, I am caused, I don't exactly have a question or a comment, but I'll just share what I'm pondering. And it's understood, obviously, not the supreme controller here, speaking for myself. And, you know, I'm just wondering, like, where does my influence play out? Like, on one hand, we talk about being fully responsible for life. You know, things like responsibility sort of indicate control to some extent. The person who has control is responsible. So it's sort of like there's this big picture in which we may not have really much control, or do we have any control really of the external? But what is our level of influence in being creators, as opposed to just being like harmonious slaves to what is? To what extent can we influence what's happening, as opposed to just harmoniously surrendering helplessly to it?
Thank you, Gajendra. There's many places I could go, and the one that comes to me now, there is, you know, we could go to the Bhagavad Gita and the 5 factors of action and all that, but what comes to me is from all my reading. I prepared for this class and I read a lot, so I have so much more to share with you. And you know, our independence lies, our free will lies in choosing Maya or choosing Krishna, really. And then if we're choosing Maya, then a step towards choosing Krishna is accepting that responsibility that I have chosen Maya. And of course, it may not come in the form of I have chosen Maya, and it comes in so many variegated ways that we are invited to be responsible for what's happening in our life, and being responsible for everything, really. And because either we choose Maya and then we are under the clutch of the material energy, the external energy of the Lord, under controlled by the ropes, and then our free will is more and more, independence is more and more covered, like animals, for example. They are so covered by the lower modes that they are instinctive. You know, they find the food, they find a place to sleep, they find a mate, they, you know, like that. They defend. Instinctive is a role automatically. And, you know, we can say, well, the animal, look, they are creating so much food and they are creating such a nice place to sleep. Or, oh, this poodle created to have such a nice life in Manhattan with a rich lady who gave her a bed and all that. It's kind of, yeah, the poodle didn't create that. But, you know, but the poodle could, you know, theoretically take responsibility for it. And there's a distinction there. I think the responsibility and control, at least from my perspective, they are really two different concepts. Responsibility is accepting my situation. I put myself here. I created that because I put myself there. I'm the source of it. And so, yeah, so as we are under the ropes of the three modes of material nature, we are only thinking that we are the doer. We are only thinking that we are the doer, but in reality, we are not the doer, because the modes of material nature are in action. And the more we get to uncover the modes, the more that independence come and that free will come to choose Krishna. And the more we use that independence to choose Krishna, the more our life become auspicious. And then at that moment, then by surrendering to Krishna, we become a puppet in the hand of Krishna. So on one hand, we can choose to be a puppet in the hand of the three modes of material nature. I love that painting. I don't know if I can find it quickly. The painting in the Bhagavad Gita, you know, where where you have the three modes of material nature, you have the ropes and the people are puppets. You know what painting I'm speaking about? Yeah, Chandra. Yeah, I'm not finding it. Yeah, too bad. Yeah, there is a painting where you have like the red, blue, and yellow kind of puppeteer.
Right, right.
And then they're all puppeteer, and then underneath you have like a worker which is like
Yeah,
cool, and then you have a person who is really, you know,
his
doing.
boss.
And then you have like the sage on the more goodness, and they're all on the. So that's really our position in reality. We are so much put in illusion in that dream. It's like Prabhupada said, the example of we want to be a king, and then in the dream we are a king, and then in that dream we make so much decision. We make decision, then go there and go conquer that land, and we may think like, yeah, I'm the one who create all that, but it's just an illusion. You know, the dream is just happening. So that's one response. I know it's not the only one, because there is other part of the teaching. For example, the Bhagavad Gita, where we you know, ultimately is a super soul, but there is the place where the action take place. There is a knowledge. There is a body. You know, there is different a source of action, and still ultimately we are not the doer.
We are not the only doer. Like that's the wording that's also used when it says kartami timanyate. Like we're an illusion that we're the only doer. We are a factor.
We are a factor, yeah.
And then the modes of nature are a factor, and the ultimate factor is super soul, and there's the place, and there's the context, and that then our illusion is like I'm the only factor. So it's Tim said, like we're not the only doer. It doesn't mean that
we are not a factor.
That we're not we are a factor. And the illusion is that like I'm the only doer, I'm the main thing, and we don't include super soul in the equation. We're quite in a lot of different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's part of what I'm looking at, is to the extent that we're a factor. In other words, when you look at like Achincha Beta Beta, so it's like the simultaneous oneness and difference. So we have this relationship of being the serving energy, and yet, you know, to what extent do we have that quality of Krishna of I don't want to address independence like separation from, you know, Krishna's will or being harmonious with Krishna, but independence more just in the sense that, you know, I'm an individual person. And so when it comes to say like desiring, even in the realm of devotional service, to what extent is that desire manifesting from me as an individual in my desire to please Krishna, versus I'm just responding to Krishna's desire. Yeah, I'm wondering to what extent that I'm actually existing as an individual.
Yeah, like not going to a place of complete impersonalism. It doesn't matter, and I don't exist, and I have no desire. Now going to like complete materialism, then I'm the source of everything, and everything that goes through, and I and mine, everything is, I'm the cause of everything. And then finding the balance of that partial independence, like Srila Prabhupada said in the purport, with that partial independence, what does it mean to have that partial independence, and even in desiring to serve Krishna in a certain way, where is the identity of the soul there?
Yeah, because I'm thinking Krishna wants us to be enhanced as individuals. Like he's interested in seeing our individuality, our personhood developed. It's like Krishna might just be boring if we're just everything is just a total slave. It's why he gives us independence, because I believe I'm thinking or feeling, you know, he really wants us. Like while we'll never be his equal in terms of the nature of how reality is constructed. You know, for the purpose of intimacy, there has to be some, even if it's a little bit of a yoga maya about the structure of reality, it still has to have some sense of, yeah, like Mother Yashoda can scold Krishna, or he can have some drama with some gopi, something like that. That, yeah, Krishna really wants our individuality, our
That's,
personality.
yeah, that's we are partial independence. We have a partial independence. We don't have all independence. Only Krishna is fully independent, and that partial independence basically is there for us to express our love. So
Yeah.
in order to love, it takes two, and in that expression of love, then here is our individuality. You know, the way Mother Yashoda will cook, or the way the other gopis are going around Krishna and deal with Krishna, and the ways each cowherd boy friend is serving Krishna with a different mellow and a different relationship, because they are independent, individual, eternally. That individuality is never lost. However, that individuality, when it gets covered, it's the individuality, when it gets covered, it leads to identity with what we are not.
The aspect of Krishna and Prabhupada, they're looking at us. How do you want to serve me? What's your inspiration? Like in the bhakti, there's certainly the mentality that's encouraged. How can I serve? I'm ready to do the needful. But just like in a relationship, if it's kind of like, what do you want to do? Well, I just want to do what you want to do. What do you want to do?
Annoying.
Well, I just want to do whatever you want to do. And kind of like, okay, but it's not very satisfying. I want to be like, it's a dynamic. There's a story I heard from Rupanuga Prabhu, Rupanuga, one of Prabhupada's first followers in 1966, and he said somewhere around like 67 or early in the movement that Ishan Das, he went in to see Prabhupada because he approached Prabhupada and he said, Prabhupada, I want to know how I can serve you. He just had some insight. I want to know how I can serve you. And Prabhupada said to Ishan, that's not how it works. So Ishan was, I thought that you're my spiritual master, and I want to. Prabhupada said, no. Prabhupada said, what do you want to do? How do you want to serve Lord Chaitanya Sankirtan movement? So Ishan was taken aback, but then he said, okay. And it was like Prabhupada had received the first mridanga or something from India, first few mridangas, and Ishan said, well, I really love the mridanga, but these mridangas break easy, and I want to create a mridanga. He had an engineering craftsman sort of mentality. I want to create a mridanga that doesn't break easy. And so then Prabhupada said, do that. So sometimes it's like, yeah, how can I serve you? And then sometimes Krishna and Radharani and Lord Chaitanya and Prabhupada, they're looking at us. What's your inspiration? How do you want to serve? And that's the dynamic, very personal.
Yeah, there's a slightly amusing thought that I'm having. There's this idea. It was certainly, I think, practiced more in my mother's generation, but the woman has some desire, and the man has his ego. And these women, my aunts, etc., were very expert at making their husband think that they got an idea. And then these women always got what they wanted because the husband thought it was their idea. And so I'm wondering if that's seeping into, or if there's that's coming out of maybe the spiritual reality a little bit. I don't know. Maybe even Krishna gives us like, oh, I've got some idea how I want to serve Krishna, but maybe, I don't know. Just an amusing thought, but yeah.
Thank you for that amazing thought of like the Prakriti, the feminine energy as like having an idea and then it becomes Krishna's idea. Yes, and recently, I think it's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita somewhere, there was a purport where Srila Prabhupada really clearly stated, because we have this individuality, then we also like each spark, individual spark of part and parcel of Krishna is going to serve Krishna in a very unique, different way. So that's connect with that sense of like having very specific ways of serving. And then while we are under the material energy and in the material world, then to allow ourselves to serve Krishna in a way that's aligned with parampara, in a way that's aligned with Shastra, aligned with the desire of the Lord, and in a very unique way. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Dao Brahma, you are doing something? I see your hand is up.
Well, several things, but I guess I'll just go back to the main one, which was, I'll forget that. Just that when you were talking about earlier, it was the example of, of people who will say, well, I should be able to see Krishna. It's like a hippie type mentality, like, hey, God's within me, I should be able to see him. And I was thinking, it reminded me of a famous example of, like, let's say someone, you're standing outside your car and you can't fix it, and you just got the hood up and I can't see it, and all of a sudden some guy pulls over and he looks at, oh, here's what it is, that wire is disconnected. Well, he didn't even need to go to school very long to know that, but it's like anything can be taught to you. I mean, it's just like you can't expect to know everything all of a sudden, and it's what to speak of Krishna. So I mean, sometimes you need to go to school, automatic school, just auto school, just to know where the wires go and see that. Or what to speak of seeing, let's say receiving, actually some people can receive like through their teeth. We've heard that they can hear radio stations or something like that. Well, yeah, you could pick up the radio station too, maybe, but maybe you need to have some work done in your teeth and maybe a radio stuck in there too. But I'm just saying, yeah, a lot of things could happen, but it's not that you're going to pick up the radio station just because it could happen. So you could see Krishna, but it's not going to happen without necessarily some work first. Anyhow, there's a couple points. Does that make sense at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
For everything, we need to learn, and there is a process for learning. There is a process for learning mechanics. There is a process for learning, like technology or anything. And without going to that process, then we cannot claim to know, or we cannot claim to do the things that are necessary, for example, to fix a car. And similarly, like to claim that I've seen God, or God is in my heart and that's all I need, is not taking consideration that maybe God is in my heart, but I need to find the process that will lead me to experience God in my heart.
Or as you said, to clean out that dirt, that huge dirt that's between you and God.
Right, to clean that walls or that dirt or whatever is there. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yes. Maya being an energy of the Lord, what's also obvious is that to get out of Maya, we need the Lord, because it's his energy and he has the key to undo what he has done. So we are put into illusion by the Lord, and we are going to be put out of illusion also by the Lord.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dao Prabhu. Yes, Laura.
I'm appreciating the thought and the feeling of being in Krishna's womb. So thank you.
You appreciate that. That's we are in Krishna's womb. Yeah. There's no separation. There is no void in Krishna's creation, and there is no separation anywhere from Krishna. The separation is just an illusion that there is separation, and there is no separation. So in a sense, we are fully safe here because we are in Krishna's womb. Yes. Thank you, Laura. That was in our Krishna book reading. Anything else?
I guess I'll just share my realization or pearl from this kind of morning program. I guess I'm thinking about how much time I spend, or like really having a deep realization that my body is like part of Maya, or part of like the differentiation between my internal and my body, and how much time I spend worshiping kind of my body in terms of shopping or like a lot of the distracting things I'll do versus like spending time with the internal energy. It just feels a little striking, I guess.
Striking realization, like your eyes open. Wow, I spend so much time. Srila Prabhupada give a very funny analogy. Srila Prabhupada give an analogy of a bird. So there is a bird in a cage. And the bird, in analogy, the bird is a soul, is me as that internal energy and spiritual spark. And then the cage is the body. And then Prabhupada gives the analogy of like there is an owner of the bird, and all she does is that she cleans the cage every day. She clean the cage every day. And the bird is said, please feed me. But the owner doesn't hear. And then she goes and she finds gold, and she does like a gold plating external of the cage, and the cage look very, very beautiful. And every day she's like polishing the gold, and the bird inside the cage said, please feed me. And the woman, she said, oh, maybe I can put some bow around, and I'm going to go shopping, and I'm going to buy more for the cage to be so beautiful. And then the bird is like, please feed me. And that's the analogy that Srila Prabhupada give. Like, yes, like, you know, I'm sure it's true for most of us here. If I look at the number of hours I spend just maintaining the body, giving food to the body, giving clothing to the body, giving a roof for the body, giving a vehicle to the body, giving so much things just for this body, all the time, energy, resources spent there, in comparison to what's really essential, which is a bird, and feeding the bird and giving to my spiritual life. And what I've noticed again and again for myself and so many of my clients is that as soon we start to do the opposite, to kind of rebalance that equation and really spending time to the internal energy, me as the internal energy of the Lord, spirit spark, spirit soul, servant of the Lord, then all the need of the body kind of are taken care of in a way that's a lot easier. Yeah. Thank you for sharing your realization. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And my mailbox is locked.
Bamba, you're off mute. You have something you wanted to share? Okay. Thank you all. Grand Torah, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Malini.